everybody. Welcome to Mindful Monday. I'm Connie Bowman. I'm so happy you're here on this beautiful, bright Monday morning. We have a possibility of a storm on its way, so exciting times, right? I'm going to suggest that we start in a little heart opener today to start our week with a nice open heart. If you have a blanket or a block, I suggest you, if you have a blanket, I suggest you roll it up, or a towel. And so if you also have a yoga block or a book about this size, you can set it up so you're in sort of a supported fish pose. If not, no blocky, no worries. Just lay your blanket down. And we're going to settle down into our first pose. And it's going to be really yummy. So you want to just lower yourself down so that the blanket runs right along the spine. And then your shoulders have an opportunity to open up and just kind of wrap around the blanket. So hopefully you can get set up in that way. And I happen to have this little lumbar pillow that's really handy. And I'm going to tuck it right under my knees to support my lower back. And that should feel really nice and yummy. And if you're just on your back, no worries. Let your hands rest wherever they're comfortable. I like palms face up. It's sort of an expression of receptivity. And then just settle in. Notice what you brought to your mat this morning as we begin this new week. The beginning of this day. Begin to tune into the body and the breath without changing anything, unless you need to wiggle around a little bit more and get a little more comfortable. Good. Begin to notice sensations and sounds, the temperature of the air, the amount of light that might be shining in through your closed eyelids. And just allowing all of those things to be. And then bring your focus inward and start to invite in a deeper breath. So we fill up the belly, the ribs, and the lungs, filling up completely. And then exhale from top to bottom. So releasing the air from the chest, the ribs, and finally the belly. And take your second breath. Maybe you notice your shoulders begin to relax even more. Filling up, taking up all the space in the lungs. Filling up completely. And then slowly letting go. Maybe you notice here the hips descend a little more softly toward the floor and the legs relax a little bit more. Taking your next inhalation, again, filling up and letting go. Good. Continue breathing for a few more breaths. Just inviting in a deeper relaxation and more spaciousness in the chest. And I love this little book by John O'Donohue. I'll just read this little passage because it spoke to me today. He says, "Because the heart dwells in unattended dark, we often forget its sublime sensitivity to everything that is happening to us. Without our ever noticing, the heart absorbs the joy of things and also pain and care. Within us, therefore, a burdening can accrue. For this reason, It is wise now and again to tune into your heart and listen for what it carries. Sometimes the simplest things affect unexpected transformation. I'd like to pay particular attention to that heart space today as we move through some shapes and we unite our breath with our movement. Perhaps some small thing can affect transformation for us. So on your next breath in, begin to roll to one side and just remove any props that you have there. If you don't have props, just stay where you are. And just notice how it feels now. Maybe there is a little more spaciousness in the chest. Maybe there is a little more room for some deeper breaths. And when you're ready, hug your knees into your chest and start to loosen up that lower back, maybe rock from side to side. Good. And as you're ready, release that left leg long. Send that right leg up to the sky and begin to move your ankle. Just wave to yourself with your foot. Good. And then take your arms out wide in the shape of a T and just take some circles with this right leg. Just being gentle with the lower back. So you might make smaller circles if you're waking up with a little tweakiness to your back. But if you're ready, take some bigger circles. Maybe gradually make those circles bigger. Just awakening the hips, the abs, and the lower back. And then release that right leg to the mat. And we'll take that left leg up and just wave to yourself with your foot. Admire your pedicure if you have one, if you've been lucky enough to get one. Good. And then take your arms back out to a T. Let's take some hip circles here. Keeping the breath slow and smooth. Good. You can go in either direction. Either way will work. Good. And then as you're ready, take that left leg down, point your toes, and reach your arms way up over your head. Take a full body stretch and shine your heart toward the ceiling. So a little rounding on the lower back, creating some space between your lower back and the floor. Take a full breath in. Good. And then as you exhale, squeeze your knees into your chest. This time, lift your nose up toward your knees. And then if you're able, begin to rock forward and back. Little small movements at first. Good. And then we'll eventually come up to a seat. Good. So from a seated position, bring your feet together in Badakanasana or butterfly pose. Take a hold of your feet, flap your butterfly wings, and just close your eyes here. We'll begin just introducing a little exploration of the inner thighs and the lower back. So as you're ready, loop your shoulders back, sit up nice and tall, maybe close your eyes, and we'll use our breath as we gently come forward, just feeling in to that lower back, noticing how it feels. Maybe you only come just a little bit forward, or maybe you come forward a little bit more as you begin to release tension in the lower back, and your chin can come to your chest. And we'll take a few deep breaths here. So your shoulders can round forward, making some space in the upper back. And just begin to get curious about how your body's doing, tuning in to the back of the heart here, filling up the lungs completely, and exhaling, maybe descending a little more toward your feet or the floor, allowing your legs to soften down toward the floor. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Good. We'll be here for a few more, so just enjoy this release here. So I spent last week teaching yoga and helping with a camp. It was a church camp called Compassion Camp, and we had kids from age 3 to, I think 11. And I only had about 10 or 15 minutes to teach this yoga class, so it was really a quick speed yoga, kind of. But I had so much fun, and I feel like my heart was open last week. So just working with those kids and hearing them talk about different ways to express compassion and to have compassion for themselves. I did some art projects. It was just so sweet and very life-giving. So you never know what small things can affect transformation, as John O'Donohue says. So as you're ready, begin to lift yourself back up, and we'll take our feet into just crisscross applesauce, as the kids say, and just let your hands rest, and just notice how your hips are feeling just after those few beginning movements. Sit up nice and tall, and let's take some shoulder rolls, just up, back, and down, noticing how the shoulders are feeling this morning. Good. And then pause there and take your chin back down to your chest and stretch the back of the neck a little bit more, keeping those shoulders down. And then begin to take some gentle circles. Again, smaller if the neck is feeling a little sensitive this morning. Just being compassionate with yourself, to smaller or bigger if you're feeling really loosey-goosey and your neck can use a little bigger stretch. Just go in one direction, drawing those circles right in front of you, and then switch directions before you get dizzy. And keep your breath nice and smooth and easy. Good. Then come to stillness and let your chin draw in and parallel with the earth, and then reach your arms out wide. Inhale, reach up and draw some goodness down into your heart. And then we'll take a twist over to your left. Don't get used to me mirroring you. I inevitably mess it up. When you're ready, take your right arm to the outside of your left leg and take yourself gently over toward that left shoulder, twisting from the waist. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Softening the hips, softening the gaze and the face. Good. One more big inhalation, filling up completely. And let yourself unwind on the exhalation and shake that out. Hey, let's do it. Shake the right hand to the right. Let's start in right away. Shake the left hand up and down. This is so hard. We'll do the other side later. When you're ready, inhale, reach up and look up. That's my favorite. Exhale, twist to the other side. Sitting up nice and tall. Breathing in. And on your exhalation, twist over to the other side. See, if I don't say what side, I'm all right. Good job. We'll take one more big breath, lifting your heart, keeping that chin parallel with the earth. And exhale, twist a little deeper maybe, being gentle with the neck. And on this next exhalation, gently unwind. And then we'll shake see, I'm already doing it. Shake your left hand right and left, and shake your right hand up and down. There's so many things to think about. Just a little brain teaser. When you're ready, we're going to come on up and we're going to come into tabletop and take just a few cat-cows. So lifting your head, lifting your gaze on your inhale, and then rounding forward on your exhale, bringing your belly into your spine. Move that spine forward and back. So good for us. Pressing into the earth, into your mat. Fingers spread nice and wide. Good. And then come to stillness. We're going to come into one of my favorite poses as I sweep the dog hairs off of my mat. It's appropriately called puppy pose. So take your arms forward, keep your hips over your knees, and just sink your heart down, melting your heart. It's also called melting heart pose. Then we'll stretch the shoulders, a little more of a stretch for that lower back, a little bit of a back bend. And just breathe here. Good. And take 2 more breaths, just letting the heart melt. And then as you're ready, slowly peel yourself up. Take your hands a little farther in front of you than they were in our tabletop pose. And then tuck your toes underneath you and lift your knees. Come into that inverted V, that downward facing dog. So the hips go high and the heels press toward the mat. So we're not working toward flat feet necessarily. We're working toward that stretch in the back and in the calves and the hamstrings. So relaxing your face, relaxing your neck. Good. And as you're ready, instead of our typical sun salutation, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're just going to walk our hands back to the back of our mat and come into our forward fold here. So our first forward fold, our knees might be really generously bended, and then take your hands to ragdoll. Let your elbows frame your head, and shake your head yes, and shake your head no, and shake your head yes and no at the same time. Maybe we just can't decide. And then come to stillness here. Good. On your inhale, bend your knees, root into that ground, and rise up. Inhale, reaching up, and exhale your hands to heart center. Here we are at the back of our mat today. Good job. So hands at heart center, just close your eyes. Find your mountain pose, your steady mountain pose, grounded, steady, and balanced. And release your hands so your palms are facing forward in that receptive shape. And draw your shoulders back a little bit more. Take a big breath in, reach your arms up, and reach for your right wrist with your left hand and lean over to the right. And look left. Take your chin over toward that left shoulder. Good. Inhale, reach up and switch. Good. Coming back to center, reach up and lean back, open up your heart. Again, squeezing those shoulder blades together as you come into cactus arms. Good. Take a full breath in as you gaze up. And as you exhale, forward fold, keeping that bend in the knees, and then walk yourself forward. Find that downward facing dog this way. Good. Big breath in. Nice deep exhalation, and we're going to lift that right leg up off the ground. making a nice long shape, sending those toes up, maybe pointing the toes. And then look slowly forward and draw your knee in towards your chest, and then step yourself forward into a low lunge. Fingertips can come to the floor, and your right knee is over your right ankle. Good. Take a nice big breath in as you sweep your arms up, reaching up, fingertips reaching toward the sky, pinkies drawing toward one another, and find this crescent pose. Big, beautiful warrior stance with a nice open heart. Take a big breath in as you draw your arms out into that cactus again. Both toes facing forward. So you might find a little challenge here with your balance, no worries. Find that drishti. And then from here, from this cactus pose, take your arms back behind you, clasp your hands. We're going to come into a humble warrior here. So a little bit of wobble is going to be normal. We're going to bow forward, lifting our arms overhead. And see if you can keep your breath steady. Keeping your calm, steady heart by using the breath. We'll take one more breath in, and as we exhale, take your hands down to frame that right foot. Sweep your right arm up and take a twist to the right. Good job. I know you guys are doing great. Take a little circle with your right arm. Little backstroke here. And then take your right hand down to the mat, framing your right foot. And we'll step on back to that downward facing dog. Good. Pressing your heels into the mat, lifting your hips. Enjoying this downward stretch, downward dog stretch. Feels so good. Take a big breath in, and on your exhale, just walk your hands back to your forward fold. And then press into the mat, bend your knees as much as you need to root to rise, reaching up, looking up. Good. And then take a hold of your left wrist with your right hand and lean over to the right. Look left. Good. Pressing equally into both feet. Inhale back up to center and switch. Good. Leaning over to the other side. Good. Inhale as you reach up and look up, and then draw those arms out into cactus, squeezing your shoulders together. Good job. Beautiful. And then exhale, we'll dive forward, finding that forward fold, and then walk your hands back out, come into that downward facing dog. Good. Notice if your shoulders are drawing up to your ears, even in your down dog. See if you can draw them back into their sockets, and keep pressing those heels toward the floor. Take a big inhale, lift out that left leg up to the sky. Get long with that left leg. Big breath in, look forward and step forward. And we'll rise up, coming into crescent on this side. Good. Beautiful. Nice big breath in. Nice long exhalation. Good. And then draw those arms back into cactus. See if you can open that heart a little bit more, squeezing those shoulder blades together. We might feel this tomorrow. So good for the upper back, the posture. Maybe even look up, challenge your balance. Challenge your balance. Good. One more breath in. And as you exhale, clasp your hands the funky way. Maybe switch the cross of your fingers so you're just challenging your brain a little bit. Open that heart as you inhale, and as you exhale, bow forward, coming into humble warrior. Lifting the arms as you are able. Embracing the wobble. It's all good. Good. Nice big breath in. And as you exhale, hands come to frame that left foot. Keeping that left knee over that left ankle. Right hand goes down to the inside of the left foot. Sweep that left arm up. And take a gander up at that left arm. Nice twist. And then take some circles, circling out that shoulder, just gentle circles. And then lower that hand down. Instead of stepping to downward facing dog, we're going to take that left foot back and come into plank pose, lowering your knee and the tops of your feet, lowering both knees, not just one, and then slowly lower all the way down to your mat. Get really comfy here, make a pillow, and turn your head to one side. Do the Sophie shake, shaking out your hips, and just rest here, closing your eyes for a moment. Taking a moment for yourself, breathing in and breathing out. Good job. So our back bend today is going to be Sphinx Pose. So we're going to come into that Sphinx shape by placing our elbows under our shoulders, letting our hands rest on the floor and shining our heart forward. And we can close our eyes here. So there's some gentle compression for the lower back here. So just be safe. As you let this settle. We'll come back to those deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Good. And just letting your shoulders relax down. We'll be here for a few breaths. A few more breaths. So there's a musical based on the book by Frances Burnett, I believe. It's called The Secret Garden. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of it. But the musical is really beautiful. The music was actually written by Carly Simon's sister, Lucy Simon. And it's a story, you know it, of Mary Lennox, who has suffered from a lot of grief. She's lost her parents in the, with the plague, I think, in India. And so she goes to live with her uncle, Archie. And he's lost his wife, Lily. And so there's just grief everywhere. And their hearts are hardened, everyone in that house. And then there's Colin, the little cousin, who has been ill for most of his life, and his father just coddles him in his grief over the loss of his wife and Colin's mother. And so Mary comes to live with this, and it's just grief upon grief. And the music in this is just, and what got me to thinking about it is because there's a storm coming, and the opening song is "Come in a Terrible Storm," and it's this beautiful music depicting the storm that is coming in. So let's take one more breath in as I go on and on. There is a point. And then as you exhale, lower yourself down, make a pillow, and turn your head in the other direction, and just Sophie shake it out. Let the lower back just decompress, and we'll come into a counter stretch for this by bringing your head back to neutral, bringing your hands to the outsides of your shoulders, and pressing yourself up through just a mini cobra coming through your table, and taking your knees as wide as your mat, propping yourself up, covering, putting a blanket down as needed. And then we'll sink into child's pose, letting the head just release to the floor, letting the hips come back toward the heels. So lots of things we can do here. We can put, I have a carpet under here, so my knees are nice and cushioned, but a blanket or your towel. And then also, if your hips are not reaching your heels, you can tuck a little pillow in between your booty and your heels. But just let the lower back decompress. Just come into your child's pose with abandon. And so Mary Lennox comes to this place and, finds out that you can't run away from your grief, right? And then, of course, in the musical, it's a musical, so there is a great song, and it's one of my favorite songs. It's called Wick. And the song goes like this: when a thing is wick, it has a life about it. Now maybe not a life like you and me, but somewhere there's a single streak of green inside it. Come and let me show you what I mean. And it's such a beautiful song. You have to listen to it. So I commend to you the music from The Secret Garden, especially that song, Wick. So when you're ready, we're going to rise back up to table. We're going to take our hips to the floor. And then we're going to come to the length of our mats and come into a wide leg forward fold. So stretch your legs out in this V shape again. And then take any props that you might have that you could set yourself up for comfort. And we'll just bow forward in this wide leg forward fold, just stretching the inner thighs. So same thing as in our butterfly earlier. Just let yourself round forward, let your chin come down to your chest, and breathe here. Take some deep breaths in, and some long, slow exhalations. Good. So Mary Lennox is eventually transformed and comes back to life as her garden begins to grow. And little Mary becomes the impetus for the healing of the whole household. And then there's a great song at the end. The whole album is beautiful, it really is. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. It tells the story, the whole story. It'll bring the story back to life for you. And take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll slowly make our way up and swing our legs around and come back to our starting place, back to our mats. Allowing yourself to just descend. And let's draw the knees into the chest again, because that feels so yummy. Take some of those hip circles, just going around and around in one direction. Massage out the lower back. Good. And go the other way. Good. And then lower that left foot to the floor. Take this right ankle, cross it over the left quadricep, and then reach reach through that little triangle shape here. So many triangles today. And draw that left shin in toward your heart. Let your shoulders relax down. Let your face just soften. And we'll breathe here into this hip, this lovely right hip. Nice big breaths. Good. Enjoy your breath. We'll take a couple more. See if you can soften somewhere. Notice where you might be holding tension in the face, the jaw. See if that helps the rest of the body, giving it the signal that it's okay to rest, okay to chill. Good. And when you're ready, on your exhale, just slowly begin to cross that right leg over the left. Take your arms out to a T, and just take your knees over toward the right and look left. So this top leg is just giving a little bit of encouragement to the opposite hip to open up. It's nice to have encouragement along the way, right? So take another breath in and then slowly release. Release that right foot to the floor and take that left ankle, cross it over the right, reach through that triangle, and pull those legs in toward you and relax. Deep breaths in, long, slow exhalations. You know what it takes. Good. Always softening wherever we can. Beautiful. And as you're ready, release that right foot to the floor. Just let this left leg come across like you're sitting in a cross-legged position, and then gently let the weight of that left leg draw that right knee over toward the left. Not putting pressure on the knee, just allowing this hip to open, this right hip. And then turn your gaze over to the right if that feels okay. So the right hip might come off the floor. No sweat. Let it be, as the Beatles said. Big breath in. Soft exhalation. And then gently come back up. Put both feet on the floor, drawing those heels up towards your hips. And then take your hands to the floor and tuck your shoulders underneath you. Just snuggle them under so you have that nice open heart. And begin to let your hips rise up, coming into bridge pose. You can take your hands and clasp them underneath you. And just be gentle with the back of the head and the neck as you rise up a little bit more, just drawing yourself into this back bend. Maybe your hips come a little bit higher. And then on your exhalation, slowly lower down, releasing the hips to the floor, letting the legs extend long, and bringing the hands out really wide, maybe even off of your mat, letting those palms be open. And just take a moment to soften here. Notice how your heart maybe a little more expansive, your chest maybe a little more expansive. And allow your eyes to close, your face to soften, and your breath to come as it will. Good. And so we'll take this final pose with intention to really soften and release and let go wherever we can. Shavasana is also called corpse pose. The yogis say it's practice for death. That may sound morbid, but you know, it is a thing. So let yourself completely release here and just see what comes up for you. Soften your face. Soften your shoulders. Soften the belly, the hips, the legs, the ankles. Soften the feet. And finally, let your heart just melt here, softening that space. Tuning into that heart space. Allowing whatever arises to just be. Again, from John O'Donohue's To Bless the Space Between Us. This is for courage. When the light around you lessens and your thoughts darken until your body feels fear turn cold as a stone inside. When you find yourself bereft of any belief in yourself and all you unknowingly leaned on has fallen. When one voice commands your whole heart and it is raven dark. Steady yourself and see that it is your own thinking that darkens your world. Search, and you will find a diamond thought of light. Know that you are not alone, and that this darkness has purpose. Gradually, it will school your eyes to find the one gift your life requires hidden within this right corner. Invoke the learning of every suffering you have suffered. Close your eyes. Gather all the kindling about your heart to create one spark. That is all you need to nourish the flame. That will cleanse the dark of its weight of festered fear. A new confidence will come alive to urge you toward higher ground, where your imagination will learn to engage difficulty as its most rewarding threshold. Begin to deepen the breath. Make small movements with fingers, toes. Maybe open and close the fists and take some circles with the wrists. And as you're ready, slowly roll to one side, just finding that fetal position, that symbolic pose of fresh starts, new beginnings. And then eventually make your way to a comfortable seat, maybe tucking something under you to lift your hips up a little bit higher. And just let your eyes close. And just arrive here in this seat, feeling grounded, feeling expansive and open. Then breathe in, reach your arms out wide, let your fingertips graze the mat, and then reach up. Let your palms touch above your head and draw your hands down through that center line of the body, and let your hands rest at your heart in Anjali Mudra. Let your chin bow. So bowing the head to the heart, taking a moment to find some gratitude, or think of someone you love today, someone you might reach out and call and provide that little spark of transformation for someone else. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. It is my honor to guide you through your practice. Until next week, namaste.
Thank you, Ms. Connie.
Thank you, guys. Have a really good day. Listen to The Secret Garden.